It's so dark. It was amazing! Oh wait! There's more! It was awful! I'm back! CGI shit!
I rest my case.
It was fucking horrible!
Hey guys, what's up? It's BigJackFilms here. Welcome to another opening night, and yeah, this one, another re-release. We've been doing a lot of these lately, a lot of older movies. New movies are kind of just here and there for me. I just haven't had really the time, but I've been enjoying a lot of these re-releases the last few years. With that said, this time around, surprise, surprise, was not expecting this, but yeah, Shin Godzilla came back to theaters. I don't know if it's still around as of this recording. I had just gotten out of it about maybe a couple days ago. I just completely forgot to do a review on it. But with that being said, I was actually invited to this by Josh. He wanted to see this movie on the big screen. And I brought Honey Bear along with me as well. And we all went to see it in 4K and Ultra AVX. Now, I should point out that I have already seen this movie. And in fact, this made it into my top 10 goddamn Godzilla video. It is one of my favorite Godzilla movies. But, you know, that was made pre-1, like almost a year before -1. Maybe 2 years. And a lot has changed in the last 10 years since this movie's come out. Because, yeah, next year, 2026, Shin Godzilla will be 10 years old. That is shocking how quick we've gone by the last few years. But with Shin Godzilla, I have always enjoyed this film, and I've decided, well, I'll go watch it again, this time on the big screen, because I missed it the first time, and see what I think of it. And overall, well, I'll get to, first, what's the story of Shin Godzilla? It is a remake of 1954's Godzilla, of Gojira, and it's very much a retelling of the original Godzilla story, but much like Kong 76, it's set in the modern times. It's not set in 1954, or not like -1, where it's set right after World War II. This is literally a modern retelling of the Godzilla story, and the allegories of being a deadly force of destruction, made by modern man's hubris, essentially. Whereas the original Gojira was awakened or mutated from the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Shin Godzilla's hinted at being the flaw of man's hubris from the Fukushima power plant disaster from the great earthquake that happened in, I think, 2010, right? And how that is a consequence of man's hubris, of man's flaws, that it allowed this creature to either be awakened or mutated from that disaster. And while not saying it, the film definitely showcases what Japan was going through at the time of that earthquake and tsunami, which was devastating. And Shin Godzilla definitely reflects that in how the politics and the government reacted to it, which is, they're not ready. That is one of the major themes of Shin Godzilla, is to showcase a weakness in politics and military and committees and stuff of how the world isn't ready for a disaster that would be a Godzilla. Like, while it's ready for most natural disasters, hurricanes, earthquakes, while there always are plans, they're not 100%. But this is very much a real-world take on the material. What if if Godzilla did attack the real world, how would the world react? And it's very realistic. Politics would very much be a committee in how to handle the monster. Many people would die. There would be no real counterweight or no real plan of action, because we don't know what this creature is capable of. Religion would be flipped on its head. The economy would plummet. The military would have to get involved. And in this case, what's crazy is that because Japan still does not have a military occupation since World War II, they have to rely on Russia and China and the US to take care of Godzilla, and is mainly the US. And the US gets its ass kicked by this particular Godzilla for reasons we know why, which I'll get to in a second. Now, this was Japanese subbed. It didn't have the Funimation English dub. This was subbed, which I did prefer. And watching it on the big screen in 4K 10 years later, it still holds up. It's still a good movie. It's still one of the best of the genre, one of the best Godzilla movies, because it takes a real world, representation of the material. It is more grounded. While Godzilla is more on the fantastical, unrealistic, what the fuck creativity, the way the real world handles it shows that it's realism of how, yeah, we're cooked regardless. And I liked it for that. I liked how it took this realistic scenario, because Godzilla in this one is not your particular Godzilla. He is essentially a Pokemon. He evolves, he adapts, he becomes a different creature every time. You might as well call this Godzilla, "You fools, this isn't even my final form!" Because he's constantly transforming, he's constantly evolving. On top of that, he is one of the most sympathetic Godzillas, because it is just complete and utter agony this creature is in, because he is mutated, he is burnt, he is a burn victim, he is bleeding, every time he roars, he's just screaming, "Kill me, God, kill me." And the song, Who Will Know Tragedy, represents this creature's agony, and it's great, and the way it's presented is disturbing, disgusting, and you feel empathy for this creature, but you also feel horrified. This is a creature of utter hell, and I love it for that. Watching him do the fire breath on the big screen, goddamn, that's horrific. That actually got me chilled by the end of it. I actually was terrified of this Godzilla. It is one of the scariest designs ever conceived by the creation of Toho. And it was just great for that. Hearing the music, the original Godzilla music in there is great. Well, yes, you hear Evangelion, because this is the same creators. It's great to hear some of the notes from, like, the original Gojira, from King Kong vs. Godzilla even. Like, a lot of that's in there, and it's fantastic. The cinematography is great. All the stuff with the military, how they film the tanks, and the way it's locked, the camera's locked onto the tank. That shit's so fucking cool. There's a lot of great angles of Godzilla in this. Some of the best of the genre. A lot of it is really well handled in this movie. That being said, watching it with an audience was interesting. I will say first and foremost that I have to take some accountability here. This is Honey Bear's first Japanese Godzilla movie. Now, her first Godzilla movie was actually Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. She had never seen a Godzilla movie, but with a King Kong movie as well. She thoroughly enjoyed it. She really liked it. She's more on Team Kong than Godzilla, which props, major respect for that. And she thought Godzilla was cool, but Kong was cooler, which I like. That being said, I think this was probably the worst decision to show her this as her first Japanese Godzilla movie, because she hated this movie. She hated this. And it's not for what it was trying to tell. She thought it was well shot, she thought it was, the special effects were good, and she thought the theming was good. She hated Godzilla in this. She thought it was one of the most disgusting things she'd ever seen. It really disturbed her. And she said, "I can no longer watch these movies, because I'm sorry, that thing disturbed me." And she's traumatized. I traumatized her. And Honey Bear, I'm so sorry. But she did not like this movie, namely because of that. She felt there was something really off-putting about this Godzilla that she just couldn't get out of her head. And it still traumatizes her. This was her threads, essentially. And that's actually a good way that I can describe this movie, too. Because when I did my top 10 Godzilla videos, I pointed out that The Return of Godzilla in 1984, well, one of my favorites, it came out the same year as Threads, which is a movie that I have gotten, picked apart for and made fun of for. In fact, I've had one of the actors send me an apology. But this is much more the threads of the Godzilla franchise, namely in its realistic portrayal of a disaster like this. Now, it doesn't get as dark as Threads, but the potential is what makes it scary. That last shot is horrific. One of the most horrifying potentials of Godzilla I've ever seen. And with that said, I think they are going to probably do a sequel to this, because why else is this coming out in a re-release to drive attention of Shin Godzilla, because there have been rumors of a sequel. We're getting 2 sequels, a Shin Godzilla sequel and a -1 sequel, which I'm down for. This is so cool. But yeah, Honey Bear did not like this movie. But then the audience behind us was just heckling. I mean, obviously what me and Josh do before a movie starts with previews is we riff tracks the movie. But in this case, we had like a group of people behind us who, obviously, one of them had never seen Shin Godzilla, and when Godzilla's first form comes out of the water with its derpy face, they were just laughing. They were literally laughing their asses off. I think a lot of people had that reaction the first time. It's so unexpected, and I think that's what makes it great. It's unexpected that this is Godzilla's first form, and I just look at the back and it's like, why does it look so derpy? And I'm like, yeah, you've never seen this movie. We're going to have a blast with this. They were having a good time. Everybody in the theater had a good time with this one. It was a full-packed house, surprisingly. So, yeah, I think this movie, I will say this, like, now that -1 is out, I actually have to retcon my list a little bit because I love -1. -1 is a masterpiece. -1 shouldn't even be considered a great Godzilla movie. It should be considered a great film, on par with the original. I don't think that one's ever going to be topped. And because of that, I will say Shin Godzilla's gone down a little bit for me. Because -1 is much more... I think what makes -1 stand over Shin Godzilla to a degree is that for the first time in the series, we care about the human characters. Not since the original have we cared about the human characters. So -1 does give us a good film on top of being a good Godzilla movie. Whereas Shin Godzilla is very political. Shin Godzilla is telling a political story, so while it's much more faithful to the original themes of the original Godzilla, -1 is a much better retelling of the original Godzilla in terms of just human characters, Godzilla's destruction, and the metaphor it is trying to tell about Japan trying to work together through a disaster like this. Now, Shin Godzilla does this too, at the end, but at the same time, it's at the cost of saying that, yeah, Japan ain't ready for this. And because of that, I will say, because it is very much a political film, the movie does drag a little bit. It is a little bit boring. There is a lot of humans talking, a lot of politics talking in offices. And while I don't mind it for this particular film, do I want it to be every Godzilla movie? Hell no. And because of that, as a one-off, it's fine, but if this was like every movie, I would be bored out of my mind. And that's that's why this movie's kind of ranked a little bit more. It is more higher professionally made as a more political drama, but as a Godzilla movie, it lacks. Whereas -1 gave us everything and made us also care about the human characters in between the pauses. So, with that said, do I recommend seeing Shin Godzilla again? Yes, I still do love this movie. But do I think -1 tops it? Yeah, pretty much. It has to be on its own, essentially. And with that said, yeah, I thoroughly still enjoy Shin Godzilla. I think visually it is a well-shot film. I think it tells a very good political allegory story. I think Godzilla is probably the scariest he's been. This and -1 has made Godzilla scary again, which I can really appreciate. And overall, it's just a well-made movie. Do I want a Shin Godzilla 2? Absolutely. Do I want a -2? Yes. I want more of these Godzilla movies. And, I would say -1 is better, but Shin Godzilla on its own, and if it does spawn a sequel, is worth your time watching. So I'm going to give this one, this is still a solid 9 out of 10 for me. This is still a fun, not a fun movie, but a very dark allegorical film, and worth your time to be very informative and really be a good dramatic film while also being a Godzilla movie. So let me know your thoughts on Shin Godzilla in the comments below. Don't forget to support our Patreon. Just $1 more will get you early access to all of our content, as well as other special features. I don't know what I'm doing next for opening night, but I figured since I just saw the movie in theaters, I'd give you guys my thoughts on it. And as we are working closely on episode 3, we're right in the middle of sound mixing, but overall, it's going pretty good. So until the next video, guys, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. This is BigJackFilms signing off, and check out Shin Godzilla. If it's still in theaters in your area, give it a watch. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.